power, precision, purpose. These are the blades you carry into a world that mistook your silence for ignorance and your restraint for weakness. You walked into that room, and you didn't just change the mood. You ruptured the collective delusion. Every eye in that place widened, not in admiration, but in fear masquerading as confusion, because you did something they couldn't comprehend. You forced the mirror in front of them, and what they saw was ugly, pathetic, average. The room didn't get dumber. Number U made the intelligence gap visible. You didn't rise to their level. You made them realize there never was a level. They were all crawling, and you were already airborne. That's dominance. That's the silent explosion only a real mind can cause. They looked at you and saw what they could have been, if only they weren't so satisfied being small. You did that shit. You turned heads not with volume, but with voltage. It wasn't a speech. It wasn't an argument. It was presence. Raw, untamed, unforgiving presence. You walked in with reality on your back, like a beast that had followed you from every hard decision you ever made. You didn't arrive looking for permission. You didn't ask for the mic. You were the moment. And in that moment, that exact, silent, breath-held moment, everyone knew. Everyone knew. They were clowns juggling theories while you carried proof. They had opinions. You had outcomes. And that terrified them more than any threat. You didn't defeat them. You exposed them. That's why they hate you. That's why they respect you. They spent years perfecting masks of intelligence. Buzzwords, fake confidence, empty dominance. And you tore it down with one look, one truth, one display of actual competence. Your success isn't just a statement, it's a verdict. Their performance has ended and the lights are on. Every excuse they've held close to their hearts burned alive in your wake. You are the end of every delusion they thought they could hide behind. The silence they gave you wasn't ignorance, it was fear. You're not supposed to be this good, not this soon, not this sharp, but you are, and that's the problem they can't solve. They laughed before, shrugged you off, treated you like the background, but now the background is the battlefield and you're the only one left standing. They feel it, that sting of insignificance. That collective IQ drop wasn't a glitch, it was a reality check. You're not one of them. You were never meant to blend in. You were made to break the algorithm, not just to play the game, but to end it and write a better one. One they'll never qualify for. That's the level we're on now. What you did wasn't luck. It was the inevitable outcome of pain weaponized, of discipline embraced when others chose distraction. While they were sleeping on themselves, you were sculpting yourself in the dark. They chased comfort. You made fire from friction. And now they're scorched. Every lazy choice they made, every shortcut they took, every moment they thought you weren't watching, they're paying for that now. With their pride, with their egos, and with the heavy realization that someone like you exists, and worse, thrives. This isn't motivation for the weak, this is instruction for the wolves. If you know what it's like to be underestimated, overlooked, pushed to the background, let this be your charge. Let this be your war cry. You're not here to compete. You're here to outlast, outwork, and outthink. Let them keep talking. Let them keep doubting. That's your fuel. The longer they sleep on you, the harder it hits. When you don't just win, you change the damn standard. There's no going back after someone like you shows up, because you didn't play by their rules. You rewrote the damn book. Every room you walk into from now on is your stage, and every eye that lands on you is silently praying you don't see through them. But you will. You always do. You see the cracks. You see the fear. You see the weakness that dresses itself in fake confidence. and you don't even flinch. Because you've been there. But you didn't stay there. You chose growth when it cost you everything. And now that strength is undeniable. It screams from your silence. It echoes in your execution. You did that shit, and no one can take it from you. This moment isn't about celebration. It's about recognition. Recognize that what you carry inside you, that fire, that refusal to be average, that hunger that refuses to die, is the exact weapon this world isn't ready for. They called you too much, too intense, too ambitious. But look where that got you. Look where it got them. They're circling the same conversations while you're building empires from scars. The truth is you scare them, and you should, because you're what happens when potential doesn't quit. And now the clock has run out. No more pretending, no more equal footing. The masks are off, and you are not one of them. You never were. So own that, stand on that, because every step you take is a reminder that genius can't be contained, and real power doesn't ask for validation. It demands silence. You did that shit, and they will never forget it. They wanted you to need them. They needed you to feel small, controllable, digestible. You were a threat before you even spoke. The moment you walked in with that calm, measured presence, you made the whole room nervous. Why? Because true power is quiet. It doesn't need to posture. It doesn't need to flex. It just is. You didn't need to out-talk them. You out-thought them. You weren't louder. You were undeniable. That's what left them frozen. That's what made their minds collapse in real time. You exposed the performance. The whole system short-circuited because one real one showed up. And let's be clear, this wasn't about some lucky win, some viral moment. This was years in the shadows. This was discipline when no one clapped. This was you bleeding for progress while they partied for the illusion of it. They pretended to grind. You lived in the grind. They talked about becoming something. You became something. Something rare, something dangerous, something too real for rooms built on ego and pretending. And that's what burned them. That's why they stared, blank-eyed, wide-jawed, like ghosts watching their own obituaries being written. You didn't just step in. You made them obsolete. You remember every time they looked past you, every meeting where your ideas were stolen, diluted, discarded. Every second they doubted your ability to take the lead. But now you're the storm. They can't weather you, they can't understand you, and they damn sure can't stop you. That's what happens when someone evolves in silence. That's what happens when you stop trying to fit in and start building something they'll never even see coming. They thought they were ahead. They thought they were safe. But while they slept, you trained. While they faked progress, you made enemies out of your flaws. You hunted them. You didn't just fix your weaknesses. You forged them into weapons. You walked through the fire they ran from. You ate failure until it tasted like fuel. And now the same people who laughed at you are choking on their own words, drowning in the realization that you passed them 10 exits ago. And you're not slowing down. Understand this. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone your dimmed light just to make their mediocrity feel warm. You're not here to shrink. You're here to stretch, to shatter ceilings they didn't even know were there. You're the glitch in their system, the proof that their formula fails when a real one walks in. You're not the exception. You're the standard they'll now be measured against and found wanting. You're the future they pretended didn't exist, the reality they tried to hide from. But guess what? Reality doesn't care about comfort. It doesn't give a damn about your feelings. It rewards those who move when it's hard, who show up when it's dark, who build when everything around them is crumbling. And you've been moving. You've been showing up. You've been building in silence, preparing for war. in a world obsessed with empty peace. That's why you won. That's why they looked at you and realized in real time that they never had it like that they never would. You ever see someone realize they've been lying to themselves for years? That moment of silence, that vacant stare, that subtle twitch in the face as everything they built in their heads crumbles under the weight of your reality. That's what you caused. That's the collapse you orchestrated. Not by shouting, not by fighting, but by being, by arriving, by breathing different. You did that shit, and they'll never be able to unsee it. They won't clap for you, not out loud, but their silence is the loudest applause. Their confusion is the greatest validation. Their panic, that's your coronation, and you didn't even ask for a crown. You took it because you weren't trying to impress them. You were trying to prove it to yourself. And now that you've done that, no one can take it. Not the doubters, not the critics, not the cowards still stuck in the hallway of someday. You earned this. You bled for this. You chose this. They see your results now, but they'll never see the nights you questioned everything, the hours you fought through exhaustion, the mornings you got up when your body begged you to stop. That's what they'll never understand. The cost of this kind of clarity, the price of power. But you paid in full, and now you own the room. You own the game. You own the moment, because everyone in that room just realized they're idiots, and you did that shit. You've got to keep going now. You can't shrink just because they're uncomfortable. That discomfort is the sound of growth dying inside them while it roars inside you. You don't owe them an apology for doing what they couldn't. You don't need to make space for people who refuse to make space for you. You're not arrogant. You're accurate. You're not lucky. You're lethal. Keep moving like that. Keep showing up like that. Keep evolving like that. You didn't come this far to slow down. You came this far to shut it all down. And here's the darkest truth. Some people need you to fail, not because they hate you, but because your success reminds them they quit on themselves. You are the living proof of their potential left to rot. So they'll talk, they'll lie, they'll twist narratives. Let them. That's the tax of being real in a world drunk on fake. Wear it like armor. Let it bounce off, because you've already won. Every step forward is a burial for their illusions. Every breath you take is a requiem for their comfort zones. You are not their friend. You are not their therapist. You are not their equal. You are the consequence, the result of discipline, hunger, and vision that refuse to die. You're what happens when someone uses rage as fuel and precision as a weapon. You're what happens when you don't fold. You're the quiet voice that became a tidal wave. You're the ghost in their machine, the one they can't debug, can't explain, can't stop. You don't just show up, you arrive. You claim, you dominate, and you do it all without asking, without blinking, without slowing down. This is your era now. No more soft introductions, no more humble apologies. Step heavy, speak sharp, move like you mean it, because you do. The world is watching now, and they're terrified, because they just realized who you are, and it's too late to prepare, too late to compete. You already won. They don't even know what hit them. But you do. You did that shit. They'll spend weeks trying to analyze what happened that day. Some of them will say you got lucky. Others will say they were caught off guard. Some might even convince themselves that you cheated. That's what fragile minds do when reality punches them in the face. They build lies to survive. But deep down, in the core of their consciousness, they know. They felt it. That silent collapse. That sharp sting behind their pride. You didn't just outdo them. You rewired what excellence looks like. You set a new floor so high it became their ceiling. Let them flinch. Let them scramble. They don't realize yet, this isn't even your final form. This was you coasting. You showed up with 60% of your capacity and still bent the atmosphere. That's the part they can't process. That's the nightmare they'll never wake up from. Because if this is what happens when you're warming up, what happens when you go full throttle? What happens when you stop holding back? You didn't just shift the energy, you erase theirs. Some of them will quit, not publicly, but slowly, quietly. They'll stop showing up with the same fake confidence. They'll avoid rooms you're in. They'll change the subject when your name comes up. They'll pretend they don't care. But you'll see it. In their eyes, in their posture, in their tone. You'll feel it. That subtle tremble in their identity. Because you did something irreversible. You reminded them of what they're not. And that's the real war, isn't it? Not fists, not weapons. Identity. You cracked theirs. You didn't beat them in a task. You beat them in self-belief. They thought they were smart, capable, dominant, until you showed up. And now every compliment they've ever received feels counterfeit. Every ego stroke they used to stand on feels hollow. Because what do you do when the person you've been pretending to be walks in? For real? You don't know anyone healing from that. You didn't come here to save them from themselves. You came to conquer, to execute, to deliver results while they're still stuck writing vision boards they'll never live up to. You don't owe them softness. You don't owe them explanation. Let them spiral. Let them sit with the discomfort. You earned this. Every scar, every sleepless night, every second you walked alone in the dark. This is the return on that investment. And it's just beginning. You're not here for acceptance. You're here for impact. Real, undeniable, irreversible impact. Let your work speak. Let your silence cut. Let your results roar so loud they drown out every lie they've ever told about you. You're not part of the crowd. You are the storm that clears the crowd out. You're the lightning that burns their blueprints. You're the truth they avoided and the standard they'll never reach. And the wildest part, you're still evolving, still learning, still hungry. That's the edge they'll never catch up to. You're not fighting to prove yourself anymore. You're building something so far beyond their comprehension, they'll need binoculars just to see the dust you left behind. You are not a moment. You are a movement. You are not hype. You are history in motion. You are not noise. You are a frequency that disrupts false confidence and collapses illusions. You are the disruption. Every time they laughed, every time they dismissed you, every time they made you second guess your value, that was just fuel. You didn't forget it. You studied it. You memorized every smirk, every snide comment, every empty nod, and you folded it into your discipline like steel into a blade. Now, that blade cuts through every lie, every mask, every insecure shell they tried to armor themselves with. You didn't just prepare, you sharpened. And now, they bleed from wounds they didn't even know were there. And no, they won't congratulate you. Don't expect roses from a garden of weeds. Don't expect loyalty from people who only clapped when you were beneath them. But you didn't do this for applause. You did this to be undeniable. And now you are. Fully. Completely. Undeniably. You did that shit. You made them realize they were playing checkers while you were designing the chessboard. That's not ego. That's reality. That's the outcome of obsession. And they don't understand obsession. They only know performance. And now that the lights are on and the masks are off, you get to move differently. You get to speak less and execute more. You don't need to explain yourself anymore. Let your actions be your autobiography. Let your silence be your swagger. You've been misunderstood because you were never meant to be understood. You were built to interrupt, and you just did, perfectly. What you've started is a cascade, an avalanche of awakening. Some will follow, some will fold, some will fake it, but none of them can be you. They'll try to replicate the outcome without the pain. They'll try to match the fire without surviving the burn. They'll try to walk your path without bleeding on the stones, but it won't work. Because this isn't a formula. This is forged identity. This is authenticity that costs something, and most people are too cheap to pay for it. You did that shit. You made them all look around at each other, suddenly aware of how empty their words are, how hollow their routines are, how fragile their confidence has always been. You stripped the illusion and left nothing but exposed insecurity. And you didn't do it with malice. You did it with mastery. You didn't come to destroy. You came to exist, and that was destruction enough. Keep going. Keep building. Keep showing up with that same deadly focus, because now the world knows. Now there's no more hiding. You've been revealed, and with it, the truth has been unleashed. And truth is violent when it hits comfort. Truth is devastating when it crashes into arrogance. Truth is you, walking proof that greatness still exists in a world addicted to shortcuts. And here's the coldest part. They'll start imitating you. Watch them. They'll start using your words, adopting your style, mirroring your rhythm. But they'll never capture your essence, because what you have can't be copied. It was carved in solitude, in sacrifice, in silence. You earned this frequency. You became this energy. They'll dress it up, but it'll always be a cheap imitation. And that's how you'll know you really made it, when even your shadows become their goals. Never dim your fire for the comfort of the flammable. Burn bright, burn relentless, burn in ways they can't ignore. Because you are not here to be liked. You are here to leave impact scars on the minds of every room you walk into. And you've done that. You are that. They'll talk about you behind closed doors now, not with laughter, but with calculation, with panic, with desperation. You've become the conversation. You've become the example. You've become the new bar. And bars don't lower. They either rise or crush. Let them feel that pressure. Let them choke on it. You did that shit, and now they all know.